Good morning, Young and Sane podcast fam. Welcome to the Young and Sane podcast, where we have honest conversations about things that impact our mental health, our identity, our emotional well being as young adults. And I'm Tamarflourish, your host for today. We're going to be talking about something simple yet incredibly powerful, and that is the ability to say no. As simple as no, just two-letter word. It's a very difficult thing that many people struggle to say in their lives, and we're going to be dealing with that. Anyway, we're in the month of April, so happy new month. April is here, and I'm excited for the new month. Gosh, the year is running so fast. How did we get to April so soon? It was just yesterday that we entered into 2025. Abi, am I the only one? Anyway, thank God for the new month, and I'm excited for each and every one of you. So, we're going to get into this, right? Saying no is one of the hardest things for many people. That's the truth, especially for people pleasers, people that are afraid of conflict, people that are worried about hurting other people. But learning to say no is essential for protecting your time, your energy, and mental health. So, in today's episode, we're going to be diving into why it is so hard to say no, the consequences of weak boundaries, how to set healthy boundaries without guilt, and then the practical ways to help you say no with confidence. Alright, so if you've ever felt stretched to thin, taken advantage of, or guilty for prioritizing yourself, then this episode is for you. And let's get into it. Why is saying no so hard? For many of us, the struggle comes from a few key reasons that I'm going to list out now. Number one is the fear of disappointing others. We don't want to let people down. We don't want people to feel let down. We don't want people to feel disappointed. Even when you've not promised them anything, you don't want them to be disappointed in you. Now, wow. Yeah, number two is guilt. We often feel very selfish when we don't put um, ourselves last. So we will be like, if I put myself first, I'll be very selfish. I'll only be thinking about myself. And so that feeling of guilt makes people not to put themselves first. Another thing is social conditioning. Many of us were raised to be agreeable, especially in cultures where saying no is seen as disrespectful. So, as one of the podcast episodes last week, I mentioned a story on how Ife talked about a story where her personal experience where she was conditioned to always starting every sentence with sorry, especially when she was talking to men, so that she would be looked as agreeable and respectful, right? And so in cultures where saying no is seen as disrespectful, we often say yes most of the time, so that we'll be agreeable people. And then there's the fear of conflict. We rather say yes than deal with confrontation because we are afraid that I don't want confrontation. I don't want this person to be angry with me, so I'm going to say yes. So you get the point. So you're always afraid of conflict and you don't want to deal with confrontation, and so you rather say yes than to deal with confrontation. And then another reason is that there's the desire for approval. We want people to like us. We want people to want us, want people to prefer us, want people to think about us, want people to just love us every time. And so saying yes feels like it's an easier path for people to like us. But here's the truth: saying yes when you really want to say no leads to resentment within yourself. You resent yourself for not being able to say no. Yes, you do. Look at yourself. All the times you said yes when you wanted to actually say no, didn't you resent yourself for that? It leads to extra stress, burnout. You're going to burn out, and then you lose your self-respect. You do not begin to respect yourself. You do not trust yourself. In fact, you do not value yourself. You do not hold yourself high there. And that's why, high up there. And that's why you're always saying yes. So you would know that you have lost the respect you have for yourself. And so every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could truly serve you. So these are just some of the reasons, and here's the truth about saying yes when you're supposed to say no. Don't say yes to things that will drain you. And we're going to learn how to do that in this podcast. Rather, say no so that you could serve yourself. You're not being selfish and you don't have to feel guilty for that. Rather, you're holding yourself in high esteem. You're valuing yourself, you're respecting yourself. Okay? Now let's talk about what happens when we don't have strong boundaries. The consequences of weak boundaries. When we struggle to say no, we open ourselves up to emotional exhaustion and burnout. You are overcommitting to things that you don't actually want to do. So I remember last week, like say two people sent me some very important um professional programs that of course would have added something to my life. Right, I already had a lot of things on my plate. Right, I have personal commitments, I have people that I'm coaching, I have people that I'm running trauma therapy sessions for, and then I have courses that I'm taking on a personal note, and I have content to create, and then I have books that I'm writing currently, and then I have say a competition, not like a competition but a writing challenge that I want to engage myself in to produce. I just love to engage myself in certain challenges that will help me birth something that maybe I'm procrastinating or just dragging my feet to do because of my busy work schedule. So I already had a lot of commitment, personal commitment for myself. And these programs that these people sent to me were very nice things, right? I would have learned one or two things if I engaged, and most likely they were free programs, but I didn't sign up for them. So I kind of said no, but I thanked them for sending me those programs. But I didn't sign up for them, right? Because I was committed to other things and I did not want to overcommit myself to other things that are not really necessary for now, right? And so I removed myself from the emotional exhaustion and burnout I would have experienced if I just kept saying yes to everything. And then another consequence of weak boundaries is resentment. You begin to feel used or taken advantage of. So you begin to feel used, that you're being used or taken advantage or taken for granted. And then there's another consequence of loss of identity. Prioritizing other people so much makes you to begin to forget your own wants, your own needs and desires, and you will lose yourself in the process. Another consequence is that you begin to experience toxic relationships. So because you do not know how to exert your boundaries or assert your boundaries, you experience relationships or you attract people who would always want to take advantage of your inability to say no. These are some of the very rampant or top consequences of having weak boundaries. Now, have you ever said yes to a friend and later regretted it? Or have you ever felt overwhelmed because you couldn't say no to a work request, family obligation, or social event? That's it. I'm just that kind of person that if I do not want to go for an event, I would say no, and I'll mean my no, because I care about how you're going to feel about my no. But see, my energy is very important to me. And it does not matter whether it's an event or family obligation or work request. If I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to say no. And I had to learn that because I was not usually that kind of person, right? So this is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not about being mean or selfish, because we always interpret boundaries to be this person is mean, this person is selfish. No, but they are about protecting your peace and honoring your own needs. Now, let's talk about how to set boundaries without feeling guilt. Here's how to set healthy boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries does not mean that you stop caring about people. It just means that you care about yourself too. You put yourself first. So we're going to list out 5 steps to setting strong boundaries. Now, of course, there's this acronym that people use, JOY. So Jesus first, others in between, yourself last. That does not mean that you're not going to have boundaries. That acronym is for the purpose of serving in the vineyard of the Most High God. With anywhere, you can serve people at work, you can serve people just anywhere, but it does not mean that you would not have boundaries. Now, here's what it means, that JOY, Jesus first, others in between, and yourself last. It means that you're serving others and you're not always having the intention to benefit. I think that is solely for the purpose of benefiting, but you want others to benefit. Now, this thing has a lot of nuances, even as I'm saying it. I'm not talking about listening to the messages, so I'm talking about serving in the house of God. So when you are serving in the house of God, you're serving for others to be blessed, for others to for others to be impacted. Okay, but when it comes to your personal space and needs, what you need to do, now here you're serving people for them to be impacted, for them to be influenced, for there to be a change in their lives, for there to be an improvement, for there to be something that they're betting for the benefit of the kingdom of God, right? So just like Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and every other thing will be added unto you. So you're seeking not yourself, not things that are self-serving, right? But you're seeking things that are true to impacting others. You're not just going with the mindset of myself, right? So you're not, in that case, you're not putting yourself first. It's others in between, after Jesus, and then yourself last. But in this specific situation, what we are talking about in this podcast is about your personal space and boundaries, the things that people request you to do for them. This one is about, it's coming from a place of you want to be validated, you want to be loved. It's still from that selfish space that you want people to love you, you want people to like you, so if you look beneath not having your personal boundaries, there's a selfishness there that makes you want people to love you, that makes people want to think you as important, that makes people want to not do without you. Okay, that makes you want to be in control of how people feel. So you feel like you're in control of people's feelings, and that's the reason why you avoid conflict and you avoid confrontation. So there's a lot of things that are to be uncovered here, but it does not negate the principle of putting others first when you are working for the purpose of revealing Christ or bringing people to the kingdom of God. Okay, so, and even in that, bringing people to the kingdom of God, you have to save yourself first before you be able to save other people. So there's a lot of nuances to it, but I don't want you to misconstrue, and that's why I have to take time to explain all of these things. So we're going to talk about how to set healthy boundaries without feeling guilty that you're selfish or anything. Because in the first place, why you do not have boundaries is because you're selfish. You want to be liked, you want to be loved, you want to feel relevant, you want to be in control of how other people feel about you. So let's get into it. Number one, get clear on your limits. Identify what makes you uncomfortable or drained. Know that you can and can't handle. Know what you can and can't handle, right? So you have to get clear on what are your limits. Where is that personal space that people cannot encroach? What makes you uncomfortable or drained is putting your you have to be a full cup for you to pour into other people. So this is all about limits. You have to be a full cup. So what do you need to do, or what are those things that you do that drains you, that make you a half full cup, that make you a quarter full cup, that make you an empty cup. So identify those things and know what you can do, what you can handle, and what you can't handle. Number two is to communicate your boundaries clearly. Be direct, be firm, and respectful. But before you can do this truthfully, you have to go into the why in the first place you do not have boundaries. Okay, so you have to be direct, you have to be firm, and you have to be respectful. And you can do this when you have actually dealt with your feelings of why in the first place you do not have boundaries. So be direct, firm, and respectful. Use simple statements like I appreciate the invite, but I can't make it. I don't have the capacity to take this on right now. Like how I did in the story I told you guys about what I was invited for. Now, number three is learn to say no without over explaining. Don't owe people a long explanation. No, no, no. You do not owe people a long explanation. And this happens to people pleasers. You always want to over explain the situation. You always want to over explain what you meant. A simple no that doesn't work for me. Like saying a simple no that doesn't work for me is enough. You don't need to explain. This is because I so and so. This is no. To get them to understand. No, no, no. Number four, stop feeling guilty. The way to stop feeling guilty is stop feeling guilty. Although this is nuanced because you have to get into the feelings of why you feel guilty for you to stop feeling guilty. You have to understand why you feel guilty for you to unpack that feeling of guilt and then stop feeling guilty in the first place. So, but you have to stop feeling guilty. Saying no does not make you a bad person. Rather, think of it this way: when you protect your time and energy, you show up better for the things that truly matter. So, you don't need to feel guilty when you're not always showing up or saying yes. Rather, you're protecting your energy to show up better for what truly matters. Now, number five is be consistent in reinforcing your boundaries. The more you reinforce your boundaries, the easier it gets. The more you can be able to say no, the easier it gets. So people will eventually adjust to the new you and everybody will be fine. Yeah, so I would want to invite you, if you're actually struggling with people pleasing and not being able to set boundaries, to sign up for my identity coaching. Um, if you want to get into that, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Tamarflourish, Tamarflourish. There's no space, just Tamarflourish on Instagram, and reach out to me in my DM to book a session, because this thing can be so nuanced and is fully packed, right? Just telling you all of these things on how to stop being guilty or how to set boundaries is not just enough without you going deep into the root of why in the first place you do not have boundaries. Okay, now for work requests, I want to give you practical scripts or what to say that will help you say no. Some real life ways to say no without sounding rude or feeling guilty. Here are some practical scripts. So the first one is for work requests. You can say thanks for thinking of me, or thanks for thinking about me, but I don't have the capacity to take this on right now. It's as simple as that. It's very respectful, but it's a kind way of saying no. Now for your friends and family who demand, for friends, this is we'll get into the ones for family. For friends who demand too much, you can say to them, I'd love to help, but I have a lot on my plate. Maybe next time. So that maybe next time is like a question so that they can say, okay, all right, no problem. You would love to help. Let them know that I actually love to help, but there's a lot on my plate right now. And next time, maybe, 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 all right? So for family expectations, you can say to your family members, appreciate your consent, be very grateful for their consent because they love you and maybe they want a good future, they just want something good for you, but they don't need to encroach your boundaries, right? You can say no to them. Appreciate your consent, but I need to do what feels right for me, right? So these are just simple ways to say no. Now there's the way to say no for unwanted social plans. So somebody wants you to go clubbing, or someone wants you to go for a social event, or someone wants you to go just whatever outing events or so. You say that sounds fun, but I need some downtime. Let's plan for another time, and that's it. You've said no in a very nice way, right? And then for personal boundaries, when you want to assert your personal boundaries, um, let me even give this example. Say for instance, recently I've had people enter my WhatsApp DM. Some of my contacts enter my WhatsApp DM, telling me, throwing hints that they like me or just saying certain things, maybe calling me their girlfriend or saying our wife, all of those things that are a bit like, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable and I appreciate it if you could respect that boundary. Don't do that again. I don't like it. And I've done it once, right, for someone that was just, trying to encroach my personal space. I'm like, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. Right? So I said that but respectably and they understood and it stopped. So you see, saying no doesn't have to be aggressive or rude. You don't need to say it like no. You can just say it in a very honest and respectful way. It's just about being honest and prioritizing your well-being. Okay? So saying no is a skill that takes practice, but once you master it, you will notice a huge shift in your peace, confidence, and relationships. So here's my challenge for you this week. Practice saying no at least once, whether it's a work that a social request or just something that drains you. Choose yourself this time around and say no to that thing. All right, I love to hear from you guys in the comment section here on Spotify or here on YouTube. I love to read from you. You can also send us a DM on Instagram at the Young and Sane Podcast or my personal page at Tamarflourish. I'll be waiting to read from you. Thank you for joining me today on the Young and Sane Podcast. Today, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on social media at the Young and Sane Podcast. Until next time, protect your peace and stay sane. Love you. Bye.